Hey guys, tonight we are stepping into the bright, orderly world of a 1950s grocery day. On the surface, it looks almost charming. The supermarket lights are clean, the carts are shining, the paper bags are waiting, and every advertisement seems convinced that dinner will be simple if a woman only smiles at the right can of soup. But behind all that cheerful abundance, grocery shopping could carry a surprising amount of pressure. This was not just a little errand between breakfast and lunch. It was the place where a housewife had to balance money, meals, children, transport, taste, thrift, and the quiet expectation that the family table should look steady no matter what the budget was doing. The store promised convenience, and sometimes it really gave it. There were bigger aisles, cold cases, packaged foods, frozen dinners, cake mixes, and more choices than earlier generations could have imagined. But more choice did not mean less responsibility. Someone still had to remember what was low, what was too expensive, what could stretch into tomorrow, what the children might eat without argument, and what could be served at 6 o'clock without making the whole household feel that civilization had slipped. Of course, grocery shopping did not look the same for everyone. Money, race, region, transport, family size, and store access all changed the errand. A woman with a car in a new suburb had a different day from someone walking to a corner store, buying on credit, shopping after paid work, taking the bus, or relying on what could be grown, saved, borrowed, or stretched. Still, in many homes, food planning fell heavily on women, and the grocery list became a small, ordinary document with a great deal of power. If you enjoy these quiet journeys into the everyday parts of history that explain far more than they first seem to, please like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to. No pressure. It simply helps the channel more than you might imagine. And leave a comment telling me where you are listening from and what time it is there, because somewhere it is 2 in the morning, and somewhere else someone has just remembered that they left the butter in the car in 1956. The channel is also on Spotify, so if you prefer drifting off while a calm stranger explains the private burden of coupons, meat counters, and canned peaches, the link is in the description. Now dim the lights, put a fan on if you have one, pull the blanket up, turn the pillow to the cool side, and get truly comfortable. Because tonight you are going to spend an entire grocery day in 1950s America, where the coffee is percolating, the refrigerator is humming, the pantry is lower than you hoped, and the list on the kitchen table already knows more about the family than anyone has admitted. What do you buy when payday is still several meals away? How do you shop when the car is gone and the store is just far enough to become a character-building exercise? What do you say to a child who believes cereal is a civil right? How do you choose meat while trying to appear calm in front of a butcher who has seen every budget in the neighborhood? And how much modern convenience can one woman carry home before the bottom of the paper bag begins to reconsider its purpose? Congratulations. You have just woken up in a 1950s kitchen. The list is waiting, the store is open, and dinner has already started making demands. Let's begin with the list. At the kitchen table, you turn over an old envelope and begin writing the family's future in pencil. Milk, bread, coffee, potatoes, meat, soap powder, cereal, canned peaches, and something for school lunches appear in a careful column, while morning light rests on the salt shaker and yesterday's crumbs. The list looks simple, but it is doing too much. It must remember payday, appetites, leftovers, a husband's preferences, children's complaints, and the quiet fact that dinner cannot be delayed just because the household has run out of imagination. You sit with one elbow near the sugar bowl and listen to the house settling around you. The coffee pot clicks softly on the stove. Somewhere down the hall, a drawer opens and closes with the sound of a child searching for a sock that was almost certainly visible a moment ago. In the 1950s home, the grocery list is not a casual note. It is a small domestic map. It tells you where the money must go, what meals must be made, what can be stretched, and which family member has recently decided that a food they liked last week is now unacceptable. You write carefully because crossing out looks wasteful, and because the envelope is the only scrap of paper not already claimed by school, bills, or someone's mysterious arithmetic. You check the calendar. Payday is close enough to feel possible, but not close enough to be useful. That means the list must be practical. A roast would be nice, but ground beef can be made into more than one meal if treated with kindness and onions. Coffee cannot run out because the adults in the house still believe in morning civilization. Bread is needed for toast, sandwiches, and the quiet emergency of giving someone something to chew while you think. You add potatoes because potatoes are dependable in a way few people are before noon. The list also has to know the week's social duties. Perhaps a neighbor is coming for coffee. Perhaps a school lunch must look respectable when open near other children. Perhaps your husband mentioned, in the vague way husbands sometimes do, that he might bring someone from work home for dinner one evening, as though dinner for an unknown adult can be assembled from air and good posture. You do not write panic on the list, you write canned peaches. You do not write, please let this be enough, you write flour. In many middle-class magazines, the cheerful housewife seems to move through meals with a kind of glowing instinct. The right product appears in her hand. The correct casserole arrives. The children smile at vegetables with suspicious discipline. Real grocery planning is quieter and less magical. It means checking jars, remembering prices, predicting moods, and knowing that the smallest mistake can become visible at the table. Too little meat looks careless. Too much meat threatens the budget. Too many convenience foods may seem lazy. Too few may leave you tired before the day has properly begun. You are expected to be modern but not wasteful, thrifty but not cheap, organized but not anxious. If the family eats well, the work disappears into ordinary life. If something is missing, everyone notices at once, often with the wounded surprise of people who believed mustard maintained itself. The list grows. You add soap powder because clothes do not stay clean out of loyalty. You add cereal because mornings require speed. You add eggs, then pause. Eggs are useful, but they must make it home unbroken, and you are already thinking about the bags, the bus, the child, the weather, and the bad wheel on the cart you have not yet met. The pencil moves again. Apples if the price is good, lettuce if it looks alive, something sweet if there is money left, though there is rarely money left in the way one imagines while writing. The house around you is still soft with morning, but the day has already become a series of decisions. The list is only paper, yet it carries the weight of meals that have not happened, arguments that can be avoided, leftovers that may become lunch, and small comforts that make a week feel less thin. You fold the envelope and place it in your handbag. It looks harmless there beside a compact, a handkerchief, and a few coins, but it knows everything. The grocery day has begun, and the first thing you are carrying is not a basket. It is responsibility written in pencil. You open the pantry and stand before the shelves with the calm expression of a woman inspecting a small financial institution. There are tins of vegetables, a box of crackers, flour in a canister, sugar lower than expected, and one jar at the back that nobody seems ready to discuss. A good pantry is meant to suggest order and preparedness, but this one is mostly offering clues. You shake boxes, count tins, and begin the old household puzzle of turning what is left into what people will accept as dinner. The door gives a small wooden sigh as it opens, and the smell comes out first. Flour, paper, coffee, onion skins, dust, and the faint metal scent of tins resting in rows. It is not unpleasant. It is the smell of a household trying to be ready. In the 1950s, a pantry might be a cupboard, a shelf, a cellar space, a cabinet near the stove, or anything large enough to hold the food that did not need cold storage. It was not simply storage, it was proof that someone had thought ahead. A full pantry meant security, a thin pantry meant arithmetic. You move a tin of tomatoes and find another tin behind it, which feels briefly like good news until you remember you used the last good onion yesterday. You lift the flour canister and judge it by weight. You open the sugar and look down with the quiet disappointment usually reserved for weather. Sugar matters. It sweetens coffee, bakes cakes, softens oatmeal, and gives children the dangerous idea that breakfast can be negotiated. You check the crackers. The box contains enough to suggest snacks, but not enough to survive actual children. A packet of gelatin sits near the back, cheerful and unreasonable. There are dried beans, perhaps rice, perhaps a tin of salmon saved for a meal that needs to look more planned than it feels. If your family has a little more money, the shelves may hold brands seen in magazines, neatly stacked and ready to prove that modern shopping has entered the home. If money is tight, the pantry may hold plain staples, bargain tins, home-canned jars, and the careful remains of last week. Race, region, income, and access all shape these shelves. A farm woman, a city mother, a suburban housewife, and a woman returning from paid work may all meet the pantry with different resources, but the work of reading it is often the same. You are looking for possibility. The pantry speaks in amounts. Enough flour for biscuits if the shortening holds out, enough beans for soup if there is time, enough canned corn for dinner, though not enough enthusiasm to make anyone cheer. This is where the grocery list becomes honest. At the table, you can imagine the week. At the pantry, the week answers. The magazines may call you the manager of the home, which sounds grand until management involves deciding whether the last tin of peaches should be dessert tonight or comfort on Thursday. You are expected to keep the household supplied without hoarding, stretch food without seeming poor, and produce variety from shelves that do not always share that ambition. The pantry also carries memory. Women who lived through the Depression or wartime rationing often learn not to waste, not to trust plenty too completely, and not to throw away anything that could be turned into soup, pudding, stuffing, gravy, or a quiet victory over hunger. Even in the prosperous 1950s, those habits do not vanish because an advertisement smiles. You may save bacon fat. You may keep bread ends. You may look at leftover coffee and decide that thrift has limits. The shelves become a record of past meals and future compromises. A small packet of raisins means lunchbox hope. A tin of soup means rescue. A dusty jar of something homemade means either comfort or risk, depending on who sealed it and how much faith you have in lids. You reach toward the back and find a small bag of potatoes, beginning to soften. They are still usable if inspected kindly. That is the pantry's great skill. It teaches you the difference between gone and not yet gone. A bruised apple can become sauce. Stale bread can become crumbs. A small amount of rice can make soup look as though it had a plan. Nothing is only itself. Everything is a possible second act. You close the pantry door, then open it again because you have remembered coffee. There is enough, but not enough to be careless. You add it to the list with a firm pencil mark. The pantry has not failed you. It has merely handed you its evidence. Now you must take the evidence to the store and argue for a week of meals. You pull open the refrigerator door and feel the cold air move over your hand. Inside sit milk, butter, eggs, a covered bowl, a heel of cheese and leftovers waiting for a second chance at respectability. The refrigerator is a modern blessing, and you know it. Food keeps longer, milk stays safe, and yesterday's roast may live to become hash. Still, the bright enamel shelves also tell the truth. They show what is almost gone, what must be used today, and what your family will later claim they never noticed. The little light comes on, and for a moment the inside of the refrigerator looks almost theatrical. White enamel, glass shelves, a metal rack, a butter compartment, a bottle of milk with cream near the top, perhaps a jar of pickles, a dish covered in wax paper, and a bowl whose contents are known to you alone. The motor hums with modern confidence. It is one of the great household sounds of the post-war kitchen, steady and practical, promising that food can wait. Earlier generations had ice boxes, daily deliveries, cooler pantries, cellar storage, and a much narrower margin between fresh and spoiled. A home refrigerator does not remove all worry, but it changes the shape of it. You can buy more at once. You can save leftovers. You can keep milk, meat, and butter with less fear. This is real progress, and it deserves its respect. It also means the family can now expect more. A cold refrigerator does not simply preserve food. It raises standards. Milk should be fresh. Lettuce should not wilt too quickly. Leftovers should be used before they become too suspicious to defend. The refrigerator gives you time, but it also gives you one more place to manage. You lift the milk and judge the level. Enough for today, not enough for tomorrow if the children attack breakfast with their usual faith. Butter is low. Eggs are present, but eggs always look more numerous in the carton than they feel when breakfast, baking, and meatloaf all begin making claims. You unwrap the cheese. It can still be trimmed. This is not waste. This is household law. A covered bowl of yesterday's vegetables waits with the quiet dignity of something hoping to disappear into soup. You know what must be used first because you placed it there. Everyone else will open the door, stare directly at it, and later announce there was nothing to eat. The refrigerator has become a shared appliance with private knowledge. It belongs to the family, but it reports mostly to you. You check the meat drawer, if there is one, and think about what can be bought today. Fresh meat needs prompt attention. Fish is a commitment. Cold cuts feel convenient until several sandwiches later when the package is gone, and the cost seems to have slipped away without saying goodbye. If the freezer compartment is small, frozen foods must be chosen with care. You cannot buy the future in large amounts if the future is the size of a frosted shoebox. Some homes have larger refrigerators, some still manage with older models, and some rely on shops, ice, cellars, or daily shopping. New appliances are not distributed equally just because advertisements behave as though every kitchen has been personally visited by progress. Still, in the middle-class ideal, the refrigerator stands like a bright symbol of modern domestic life. It is often shown in ads as a generous white cabinet filled with orderly abundance. The door opens, and happiness appears in jars. Real happiness is less tidy. Sometimes the lettuce is tired, sometimes the milk has turned. Sometimes the leftovers have reached that stage where they are not spoiled enough to throw away without guilt, but not inviting enough to serve without explanation. You make decisions. The roast can become hash. The vegetables can become soup. The cheese can be grated. The eggs must be protected for breakfast unless cake mix enters the day and begins making demands. You close the door, then open it again to check the butter, because butter has a way of becoming important once the store is far behind you. The cold air spills out, and you feel the old tug between thrift and comfort. A fuller refrigerator feels safe. An empty one feels accusing. But a crowded one can also hide waste, and waste is not just money lost. It is a moral failing according to almost every grandmother, home economist, and wartime memory still living in the kitchen. You write milk, butter, eggs, and perhaps cheese on the list. You pause near the covered bowl. It is lunch now. It may be dinner later. It may become something with a name if you are feeling brave. The refrigerator hums on, calm and modern, as though it has not just delivered several pieces of evidence. You close the door gently. Behind it, yesterday waits in the cold, hoping to be invited back as dinner. You sit with a newspaper, scissors, and a small pile of printed offers that promise savings one careful snip at a time. Soap flakes, canned soup, coffee, cake mix, toothpaste, and breakfast cereal all announce that they are the sensible choice, which is very bold behavior from paper. You clip because pennies matter, and because thrift is one of the few household talents people praise without asking how tiring it is. Each coupon feels helpful, but also bossy. It saves money only if you buy exactly what it wants. The newspaper is spread across the table, soft from handling, smelling faintly of ink and yesterday's headlines. You smooth a page with your palm and search the columns of advertisements for anything useful. The scissors make a dry little sound as they move through paper. In the 1950s, coupons, store specials, newspaper ads, trading stamps, and brand promotions all become part of the grocery day. They make shopping feel modern, clever, even a little strategic. They also turn the kitchen table into a planning desk where a woman must decide whether saving 3 cents is worth changing the entire direction of lunch. You cut out a coupon for soap powder. Soap powder is safe. The family will always produce laundry with the dedication of a public service. You cut one for canned soup, then pause over a brand you do not usually buy. The ad says it is rich, nourishing, and beloved by children, which is a brave claim since children have been known to reject foods for reasons involving shape, temperature, or no clear reason at all. Another coupon offers money off a cake mix. That could help with Sunday dessert or a school event, or a neighbour dropping by with no warning and the calm expectation that coffee should have a companion. You clip it. The coupon pile grows. It looks like savings, but each little paper square has conditions. Some require a certain size, some require 2 tins. Some tempt you toward a product that costs more even after the discount. Some are useful only at the store you cannot easily reach without the car. This is the quiet trick of modern marketing. It praises your thrift while nudging your choices. You are still free, of course. Free to spend 10 minutes considering whether the family needs a new kind of cereal because a smiling advertisement says breakfast has been waiting for excitement. Brands matter in this world. Advertisements on radio, television, magazines, and package labels do not simply sell food. They sell trust. They tell you which soap makes shirts respectable, which coffee proves hospitality, which shortening makes pastry tender, and which canned soup will rescue you from the shame of thin gravy. Some women enjoy the new choice. Some are grateful for products that save real time. Some prefer familiar brands because a failed dinner is not the best place for experiment. A coupon may feel like permission to try something new. It may also feel like a small argument from a company that has never had to feed your husband liver. You stack the coupons by type. Food, here. Cleaning there, toiletries at the edge, you check the list. A coupon is not helpful if it pulls the budget away from what is needed. Yet ignoring one can feel foolish. 3 cents here, 5 cents there, perhaps more if the store has a special. These amounts sound small until you remember that small amounts are where the household budget lives. A few cents may become an extra tin of vegetables, a treat for the children, or enough left to avoid explaining why coffee is being stretched with unusual optimism. But coupon work is still work. It requires reading, clipping, carrying, remembering, matching, and presenting at checkout without holding up the line, or discovering that the offer expired yesterday, which feels like being corrected by the newspaper. There is also a social side. Women exchange tips. A neighbor may tell you where butter is cheaper, which store has a special on peaches, which brand of detergent is worth trying, and which coupon looks generous until one reads the fine print. This practical talk can be friendship in disguise. It can also become a quiet measurement of skill. A good shopper knows prices. A careful wife saves. A wasteful one is suspected of poor management, even when the real problem is that prices have risen, children are hungry, and soup cannot carry the whole republic forever. You fold the coupons and tuck them into your handbag with the list. They are light, but they make the errand heavier. Now you must remember not only what to buy, but what paper square belongs to which box, tin, bottle, or packet. The scissors rest on the table. The newspaper lies cut up but useful. You look over the list again and feel the small satisfaction of being prepared. Then you notice a coupon for something nobody needs and wonder, very briefly, whether needing it could be arranged. Before leaving the house, you check your hair in the mirror and touch up your lipstick, even though you are going to buy potatoes. This makes sense in a world where the grocery store contains neighbors, clerks, teachers, church ladies, and at least one woman who can notice a tired dress from the dairy case. You are not dressing for glamour. You are dressing to show that the household is steady, the morning is under control, and nobody needs to know that the kitchen recently had the atmosphere of a minor weather event. The mirror over the dresser or in the hallway gives you its small, honest report. A curl has loosened, powder has faded near the nose, your collar needs smoothing. The children, if present, have already contributed something sticky to the morning, and the house behind you contains dishes, crumbs, and a dish towel that no longer believes in itself. Still, the public world is waiting. In the 1950s, a trip to the store may be ordinary, but ordinary does not mean invisible. Respectable appearance carries weight, especially for women trained by magazines, mothers, neighbors, and advertisements to treat neatness as evidence of character. You may not dress as if attending a luncheon, but you do not simply wander out in whatever survived breakfast. A clean dress, a skirt and blouse, sensible shoes, stockings if the situation calls for them, a coat in cooler weather, a handbag, and a little lipstick can make the difference between looking prepared and looking like the grocery list has won. This is not true for every woman in every place. Farm women, working women, women shopping after a shift, women with fewer resources, women in different neighborhoods, and women managing several children may have very different choices. But the ideal image of the tidy housewife is powerful. It follows you out of the kitchen and into the aisle. The grocery store is a public room. You may meet Mrs. Harper from church, the teacher from school, your husband's colleague's wife, a neighbor who always appears calm in a way that feels medically unlikely, and the butcher who knows whether you buy cheaper cuts. People may not be unkind. Often they are friendly. That can be worse, because friendly people still notice things. They notice if your stockings are crooked, if the child's face needs wiping, if the shopping looks thin, if you buy a cake mix instead of ingredients, if you look tired too often. The store is not only a place of food, it is a place where household performance becomes visible under fluorescent lights. You smooth your hair again. The lipstick is not vanity. Exactly. It is armor in a small tube. It says you are managing. It says nothing has slipped. Even if the pantry is low, the car is gone, the child has strong views about socks, and the budget is currently being held together by coupons and faith in potatoes. Advertisements of the time often show women smiling beside products as though cleanliness, beauty, and good shopping flow naturally from the same cheerful source. The housewife in the ad never seems to have searched for missing gloves while oatmeal hardened in a pan. She is fresh, rested, and delighted by detergent. Real women have to create that look from whatever the morning has left behind. The grooming itself takes time. Hair may need pinning or brushing. A scarf may protect it from wind. A hat may be expected in some places, or at least not strange. Gloves may come along, especially if the errand is part of a larger trip into town. Shoes must be suitable for walking aisles, standing in lines, and possibly carrying heavy bags. Appearance here is not only about being admired, it is about respectability. It is about proving that the home has a capable woman at its center. The unfairness is quiet but constant. A man can appear tired and be understood as hard-working. A woman can appear tired and be gently suspected of losing command. So you prepare your face. You make the morning look calmer than it was. If you have children coming with you, you check them too. Hair combed, shoes tied, noses wiped, coats buttoned. A child with jam on the cheek can make a mother feel as though the entire household has issued a public statement. You may carry a handbag with the list, coupons, money, keys, handkerchief, compact, and perhaps a small sweet meant for emergency peacekeeping. You take one last look at the kitchen. It is not perfect, but it will wait, houses a patient in the most annoying way. The store will not wait, or rather it will, but the day will not. You step toward the door dressed for an errand that should not require courage and yet somehow does. Outside are sidewalks, buses, neighbors, prices, choices, and the soft social weather of being seen. You close the door behind you. The potatoes will never know what you did for them. You step outside and look at the empty driveway. The family car has gone to work with your husband, taking with it the cheerful promise of suburban freedom. The supermarket may be only a few miles away, which sounds close to people who are not carrying groceries, minding children, or trying to bring home eggs in July. In many new suburbs, space means lawns, quiet streets, and cleaner air. It can also mean that a carton of milk has become a transportation problem. Wearing a sensible hat. The morning sun sits on the roof of the house and on the neat grass, making the whole street look calm and successful. Driveways line up beside tidy homes. Young trees stand with the nervous dignity of people new to the neighborhood. Somewhere, a lawnmower starts. Somewhere else, a screen door clicks shut. The suburb has been sold as room to breathe, and in many ways it is. After crowded city apartments, wartime shortages, or years of moving between relatives, a house with a yard can feel like a miracle with shrubbery. Children can play outside. The air may be cleaner. The street may be quieter. There is room for a swing set, a clothesline, a vegetable patch, or at least the idea of one. But the distance that looks so pleasant in an advertisement becomes more complicated when the stores are not nearby. Many post-war suburbs were built around the car, and the car was often treated as the natural extension of the household. The trouble is that a household may own one car, and that car often leaves each morning with the wage earner. Your husband drives toward the office, the factory, the station, or the city, and you remain in a place designed for mobility without possessing the main tool for it. This is not always a matter of cruelty. He may need the car to work. The family may not be able to afford a second one. You may not drive, or you may drive but still have to arrange your day around his schedule. The result is the same. The supermarket exists in theory, but theory has poor carrying handles. You think through the options. You could wait until evening, when he returns tired and the store may be crowded. You could ask a neighbor for a lift, which means creating a small social debt that may later be repaid in babysitting, coffee, or a casserole brought over with suitable gratitude. You could walk, if the route has sidewalks, if the weather allows, if the children cooperate, and if the amount needed can be carried without turning the return trip into a test of grip and manners. You could plan a larger shopping trip for Saturday, but that means remembering everything for the whole week and accepting that fresh food has a shorter sense of duty than you would prefer. Suburban planning often assumes that errands are simple because roads exist. Roads are less useful when you are holding a toddler's hand, pushing a pram, and trying to imagine where the butter will go on the way back. You look down the street and see other houses with curtains drawn, bicycles on lawns, and perhaps one or two cars still in driveways. Behind those doors, other women are making similar calculations. Who has the car today? Who can offer a ride? Who is walking? Who has postponed the grocery trip because a child has a cold, or because the budget is not ready, or because the idea of asking for help again feels heavier than the bags? The world looks open. The errands feel fenced in. This is one of the quiet contradictions of mid-century suburban life. Privacy has improved, but nearness has thinned. You have more space between houses, and sometimes more distance between needs and help. A corner store would be useful, but the corner is mostly lawn. A butcher nearby would be helpful, but the new shopping centre is across a stretch of road built for engines, not women carrying cabbage. If you do borrow a ride, you must be ready when the neighbour is ready. Her errands become part of your errands. Her children may sit beside yours. Conversation fills the car with weather, prices, school news, and the careful art of not sounding too grateful while still being properly grateful. A lift is kindness, but kindness also has a schedule. If your husband has promised the car later, the whole day may bend around that promise. Dinner, naps, ironing, and the grocery store line up behind one set of keys. If there is a telephone nearby, you may consider calling before you leave, because in a one-car household, every plan has to be placed on the family schedule like a dish on a crowded table. Your husband may have said he would be home early, but early is a word with many interpretations, so the morning teaches you patience before you have reached the street. It also teaches you that convenience is not only about what exists nearby, it is about whether you can reach it when the milk is low. The driveway remains empty, clean, and slightly smug. You lock the door, check your handbag for the list and coupons, and decide how much of the day must be spent reaching food before food can be bought. The family car will return later, full of office air and adult conversation. For now, suburban freedom is parked somewhere else. At the bus stop, you hold your handbag and list while already thinking about the bags you have not bought yet. The bus may be a lifeline, especially if you do not drive or do not have the car, but it is not always arranged around the delicate needs of meat, milk, lettuce, tired feet, and one child who has lost interest in standing upright. The air smells faintly of dust, wool coats, petrol, and somebody's lunch. You wait, knowing that the trip to the store is only half the errand. The stop itself may be only a sign on a pole, a bench if the local authorities are feeling generous, or a patch of pavement where people gather with the shared expression of those depending on a timetable. A bus comes when it comes. In some towns and older neighbourhoods, routes are useful and familiar, carrying women to markets, department stores, doctors, schools, and downtown counters where errands can be stacked into one long morning. In newer suburbs, service may be thinner. The bus may be built around commuters, moving people toward work at the beginning of the day and back again at the end, with less concern for a woman who needs to buy hamburger, exchange a library book, and return before a child's nap collapses. You shift your handbag on your arm. Inside are the list, the coupons, the money, and the private hope that nothing on the list will become too heavy. A child may stand beside you, holding your glove, asking whether the bus is coming, then whether it is coming now, then whether it has forgotten you. You answer patiently because the child is young and because the bus may, in fact, have forgotten you. A woman nearby carries an empty shopping bag folded beneath her arm. An older man reads a newspaper. A teenage girl in school shoes looks down the road as though staring can improve public service. When the bus appears, it does so with a growl, a sigh of brakes, and the smell of warm metal. You climb aboard and pay the fare, guiding the child up the steps while trying not to drop the list. The seats are covered in worn fabric or smooth material polished by years of coats and skirts. The windows rattle softly. The bus moves through neighbourhoods, past houses, garages, vacant lots, filling stations, and small shops. It is a public little room on wheels, and like all public rooms, it requires behaviour. You keep your voice low. You hold the child close. You do not spread your packages, though later the packages will have strong opinions about spreading themselves. This is the part before buying, when everything is still light. Your hands are free enough to smooth a skirt or steady the child. Your mind, however, is already coming home. Milk sweats in paper. Lettuce wilts. Meat should not linger. Eggs are delicate in a way that feels almost personal. If the weather is hot, every delay matters. If it rains, paper bags become soft and doubtful. If the bus is crowded, you must protect the groceries from knees, elbows, umbrellas, and the cheerful swinging of someone else's parcel. For women who shop by bus, the list must consider weight and route. You cannot buy the whole shelf just because there is a special. A large sack of flour may be economical in the store and ridiculous on the walk from the stop. Canned goods are useful, but 6 tins together begin to behave like masonry. The bus teaches restraint. It also teaches timing. Perhaps you buy meat close to the end of the trip. Perhaps you choose smaller amounts more often. Perhaps you carry a string bag, a shopping basket, or a cloth bag inside your handbag for extra strength. Perhaps you learn which driver waits while you gather your dignity. There can be kindness here. Another passenger may help lift a bag. A neighbor may save you a seat. The driver may recognize you and give a nod that feels like membership in a quiet society of people who have carried too much. The bus also changes what counts as a good bargain. A large roast may be cheaper by the pound, but it still has to sit beside you, warm and accusing, while the bus stops at every corner. A glass jar may be useful, but it becomes less charming after 10 minutes in one hand. Even before you reach the store, you are editing the list for the journey home. You may decide against the watermelon, even if it is priced well, because the bus has never shown deep respect for melons. You may choose sliced meat instead of a larger cut, or 2 smaller tins instead of 1 heavy jar. The route, the fare, and the walk home become part of the recipe. There can also be judgment. A crying child sounds louder on a bus. A torn bag becomes public. A woman counting coins in the aisle feels every eye, even if no one is truly watching. You reach the shopping district and step down carefully. Your shoes touch the pavement. The store is near now, bright and waiting. The trip has taken time, patience, fair money, and a small portion of your calm. You have not bought a single thing yet. That is the hidden joke inside the errand. Grocery shopping begins long before the groceries appear, and the bus has already charged admission. The supermarket doors open, and you step into a world brighter, colder, and more confident than your kitchen. Polished floors shine under fluorescent lights. Carts roll past stacked cans, produce bins, glass cases, and packages arranged as if abundance has been trained to stand neatly in rows. Self-service gives you choice, speed, and the thrill of touching every box yourself. It also gives you the burden of choosing correctly, while the children stare at cereal as though it has spoken to them personally. The first feeling is brightness. After the street, the bus, the driveway, or the small front step at home, the supermarket seems almost theatrical. Light falls evenly on everything. The air is cooler near the dairy and meat cases. The floor smells faintly of wax, cardboard, fruit, and cleaning powder. Metal carts rattle. Paper bags wait near the registers. Somewhere, a clerk stacks tins into a pyramid that looks sturdy enough to represent national confidence. By the 1950s, supermarkets have become an important part of modern American shopping, especially in suburbs and growing towns. They are larger than many older groceries. They bring meat, produce, packaged foods, dairy, household goods, and sometimes bakery items into one place. For a woman planning meals, this can be a genuine relief. No separate stop for every little thing. No waiting for a clerk to fetch every item from behind a counter. You can compare brands, read labels if the print is not too small, choose a tin, reject it, choose another, and feel for a moment that you are in command of plenty. The store invites you to move freely. That freedom is real. It is also carefully arranged. Shelves are not filled by accident. The items placed at eye level seem unusually eager. The end displays suggest bargains with the confidence of a town official at a ribbon cutting. Bright packages make promises in cheerful colors. The whole store has been designed to help you decide, and also to help you decide more than you meant to. You take a cart and begin. Around you are other women with lists, children, handbags, coupons, and expressions of practical concentration. Some shop quickly because they have work, a bus to catch, or a baby who will not remain peaceful forever. Some linger over prices. Some compare brands with great seriousness, though nobody calls it household economics when it happens beside the canned tomatoes. You pass breakfast cereals, flour, sugar, shortening, coffee, tinned fruit, soap, and stacks of paper goods. The abundance can feel wonderful, especially to people who remember shortages, ration books, empty shelves, or the lean habits of earlier years. A full aisle carries emotional force. It says there is choice now. It says modern life has recovered. It says a woman can buy canned peaches in syrup, frozen peas, cake mix, and detergent that promises shirts so clean they may become difficult to live with. But abundance also creates new kinds of work. When there are 5 brands, someone must know which one is worth the price. When there are new products, someone must decide whether trying them is wise, wasteful, modern, or risky. When a package promises easier dinner, someone must judge whether the family will accept easier dinner without acting as though the home has declined. You stop before a shelf and compare 2 tins. One costs less. One is familiar. One has a coupon. One looks slightly grander. There is no dramatic music, only the soft hum of lights and the cart beside you. But the decision still matters. The household budget is made of these choices. A few cents saved here may help later. A poor choice may become leftovers nobody wants, and leftovers nobody wants become a bowl in the refrigerator that everyone avoids with athletic skill. Children add another layer. The store speaks directly to them in color, shape, and sweetness. They point at cereal, cookies, gum, and small boxes with prizes promised inside. The supermarket is efficient, but it has placed temptation at a height that suggests careful study of children's arms. You move slowly, keeping one eye on the list and another on the small hand reaching towards something unnecessary. You are not alone in this. The aisles carry soft voices, cartwheels, distant register bells, and the small public theatre of mothers saying no in tones designed to preserve civilization. You also notice the sounds. The register bells call from the front. A child complains near the cookies. A clerk tears paper. Somewhere a freezer case hums with the steady self-importance of a new age. The old counter-service grocery had its own comforts, including a clerk who knew what you meant and sometimes what you could afford. It also limited choice, which could be annoying, but also restful in a way nobody praised at the time. Here, the freedom is wider, but so is the room for mistakes. You may enjoy this place. It is not a prison. It is bright, useful, and full of real convenience, but it is also a place where domestic responsibility becomes larger, louder, and better lit. You came in for food. The store has offered you choice, savings, novelty, judgment, temptation, and a floor polished enough to reflect your shoes. You grip the cart handle and move forward. Abundance is waiting, and it expects you to manage it. You pull a cart from the row and discover at once that it has no interest in your plans. It rattles, drifts, bumps the end of an aisle, and leans gently toward the canned goods with private conviction. The cart is one of the great tools of modern shopping. It allows more food, more choice, and more weight than a basket ever could. It also creates danger, because once there is room, the store begins whispering that perhaps you need extra crackers, extra soap, and emergency peaches, for reasons not yet known. You place your handbag in the front if there is space, then think better of it and keep the bag close. The list and coupons must not vanish into the metal ribs beneath a cabbage. A child may sit in the folding seat, legs dangling, shoes already considering escape. Another child may walk beside you with instructions not to touch anything, a rule so broad that it almost guarantees philosophical trouble. The cart handle is cool beneath your hands. One wheel complains. Another squeaks. The whole thing moves with the faint uncertainty of a machine that has seen too many Saturday mornings. Older forms of shopping required baskets, counters, clerks, and smaller purchases. You bought what you could carry or what the shopkeeper fetched. The supermarket cart changes the scale of the errand. It gives you space for a week's worth of food, cleaning supplies, paper goods, and things you did not know you needed until they were displayed at the end of an aisle with a special price. This is useful. It also makes restraint harder. A basket gets heavy quickly and tells the truth with your wrist. A cart rolls along politely while your budget quietly develops a limp. You begin with confidence. Bread later, you remind yourself, because bread belongs on top and has already suffered enough in the history of sandwiches. Cans can go low, potatoes can go low, eggs must wait. Soap powder must be placed where it will not crush anything more delicate than pride. These are not small matters. A poorly packed cart becomes a poorly packed bag, and a poorly packed bag becomes broken eggs, bruised fruit, or a loaf of bread flattened into an edible document. The cart becomes a moving version of the kitchen table. Everything has a place, everything has a consequence. You steer into the first aisle and correct the bad wheel. It corrects you back. A passing shopper gives a tiny smile of sympathy. Everyone knows the cart with the difficult wheel. It is part of the modern shopping experience, like bright lights and suddenly doubting your own list. Around you, other carts move with different purposes. One is stacked high for a large family. Another holds only coffee, bread, and a few tins. Perhaps because money is tight, perhaps because the shopper is carrying everything home, perhaps because dinner has already been partly surrendered to leftovers. A young mother uses the cart as both vehicle and fence. An older woman places items slowly, choosing with the confidence of someone who knows exactly what cabbage should cost. The cart reveals things, but politely. It shows family size, budget, habits, and sometimes a small treat hidden beneath practical goods. You do not stare. Everyone sees enough. The store has also learned from the cart. Larger carts can encourage larger purchases. Wide aisles allow more movement. Displays catch you at corners. A cart pauses easily beside a table of canned fruit or boxed crackers, and pausing is the beginning of buying. You look at the list. You look at the display. The display looks back in silence. Perhaps extra crackers would be useful. Perhaps the children will need snacks. Perhaps company will come. Perhaps buying two now is thrift. This is how modern abundance enters the home, one reasonable perhaps at a time. You learn to arrange the cart by future disaster. Heavy things low, fragile things high, cold things together if you can manage it. Things needed for coupons where you can see them, because losing a coupon in a full cart feels like misplacing a tiny piece of victory. You also keep one eye on the child in the seat, who has begun treating the cart handle as musical equipment. Near the coffee, you pause again. Coffee is not heavy in the same way as potatoes, but it has a special authority over mornings. It goes in, the cart grows heavier, it begins to feel more serious. There is comfort in seeing food gather inside it. A fuller cart can make the week feel safer. It can also make the coming total feel as though it is quietly putting on a hat and preparing to introduce itself. You place tins together, tuck lighter goods near the front, and remove a box from a child's hand without making a public speech. The child sighs, deeply wronged by civilization. You continue. The cart rattles over a seam in the floor. The bad wheel tugs left. You guide it right. In this small struggle, there is a whole lesson in grocery shopping. Modern tools help. They do not obey completely. The cart has made the errand easier, larger, and more tempting all at once. You keep both hands on the handle and push forward, because someone has to steer the family's abundance before it rolls into the peaches. In the produce section, you begin the quiet examination of apples, onions, carrots, potatoes, oranges, and lettuce. Everything looks fresh beneath the lights, but you have learned not to trust glamour where celery is involved. You turn fruit in your hand, check for bruises, compare sizes, and wonder whether the children will eat carrots if they are cut into sticks and introduced with enough cheer. Fresh produce suggests care, health, and good mothering. Canned peas, meanwhile, wait nearby with the patience of a backup plan. The produce section has its own atmosphere. It is cooler near the damp greens, though not always as cold as the meat cases. The air smells of earth, apples, onions, paper, and the clean, sharp scent of citrus. Wooden crates, bins, or neat displays hold food that still looks connected to fields, farms, and weather. After the bright certainty of packages, produce asks for judgment. A box of cereal is what it says it is, unless the children finish it by Wednesday and prove otherwise. Lettuce is more delicate. Tomatoes may look firm until they are not. Potatoes may hide soft spots with the calm of experienced criminals. You pick up an apple and turn it slowly. A bruise is not disaster. It may be cut away. A soft orange, however, is trouble. You choose by sight, touch, smell, price, and memory. The store may offer more variety than a smaller shop, depending on place and season, but the shopper still has to know what will last. Fresh food carries both hope and risk. It can make the table look cared for. It can also spoil before the family remembers to appreciate it. Home economists, magazines, doctors, and advertisements often encourage good nutrition, especially for children. Fresh fruits and vegetables fit that advice beautifully. They also require money, transport, storage, washing, peeling, trimming, and the patience to serve them to people who may treat spinach as a personal insult. You look at the carrots. Carrots are sturdy. They can be cooked, grated, sliced, tucked into stew, or presented raw as if the children have been invited to a cheerful health experiment. Potatoes are dependable and filling. Onions make cheaper food seem more intentional. Apples go into lunchboxes, pies, sauce, or the hand of a child who will take 3 bites and abandon the rest somewhere mysterious. Lettuce is more social than nourishing in many meals, but it makes a plate look fresh, and sometimes looking fresh is half the point. The produce section can reveal class and access in quiet ways. A woman with a car and a good refrigerator may buy more fresh food at once. A woman carrying bags on the bus may choose hardier items or smaller amounts. A family with a garden may rely less on store produce in season. A family with little money may choose potatoes, beans, cabbage, or whatever stretches furthest. Freshness is not only a virtue, it is also a matter of time, money, storage, and distance. You know this as you compare prices. A beautiful fruit that costs too much is not beautiful for long. A cheaper bag with a few bruised pieces may still be the wiser choice if you are willing to cut carefully and avoid looking too closely at one pair. Other shoppers move around you. Someone pinches peaches. Someone thumps a melon with ceremonial seriousness. A clerk stacks lettuce and removes anything too tired to remain public. Children hover near apples with the look of people considering theft from their own household. You choose slowly. There is no need to hurry, except of course there is. The meat counter waits. The dairy case waits. The bus, if you need it, waits for no one. If money is tight, you may skip the fruit that looks most inviting and choose what will keep, fill, and forgive. If you walked or came by bus, weight matters too. So cabbage begins looking less like a vegetable and more like a commitment. If company might come, you may buy oranges because they look cheerful in a bowl and require no baking. If a child has been ill, you may choose applesauce or bananas, if the price allows, with the tender hope that food can help restore order. The produce section makes even kindness practical. You are choosing food, but also choosing how long it can wait, how far it can travel, and how politely it will behave in a lunchbox. You place potatoes in the cart, then onions, carrots, and apples. You hesitate over lettuce. It looks crisp enough. Crisp is not the same as loyal, but it will do. You may also buy canned or frozen vegetables because they are practical and often cheaper, and because not every dinner can depend on a leaf staying brave. The 1950s kitchen is full of these balances. Fresh and canned, ideal and possible, nutrition and budget, what magazines suggest, and what children will swallow without dramatic blinking. You put the lettuce gently on top, where it can avoid the weight of tins and the emotional weight of expectations. It is only lettuce, but it has been asked to say quite a lot about care, health, and domestic competence. You push the cart onward. Behind you, the produce shines under serious light, looking innocent for food that requires so many decisions. At the meat counter, you fold the list tighter and look through the glass at roasts, chops, sausages, ground beef, liver, and cuts that seem to require both money and moral courage. The butcher stands in his white apron, ready to advise, wrap, weigh, and possibly notice whether you know what you are doing. Meat matters. It is expensive, central to dinner, and often treated as proof that the household is being properly fed. You ask for enough, but not too much. The whole week seems to lean closer. The glass is cool and slightly misted near the edges. Behind it, everything has been arranged to look solid, fresh, and dependable. Red meat, pale fat, white paper, metal trays, a hanging scale, a roll of wrapping paper, a pencil tucked somewhere near the counter. The butcher's hands move with calm skill. He knows the difference between a roast for Sunday, chops for company, ground beef for stretching, liver for economy, and sausage for a meal that needs flavour without asking the purse too many questions. You know some of this too, but the counter has a way of making knowledge feel public. At home, you can think quietly. Here, you must decide while a man with a knife waits. In many 1950s homes, especially in the middle-class ideal, dinner is built around meat. A proper plate often means meat, potatoes, vegetables, bread, and perhaps a salad if lettuce has behaved. Magazines, advertisements, and home economists may encourage variety and nutrition, but the evening meal still has a strong centre, and that centre is often something from this counter. Meat says provision. Meat says the family is doing all right. Meat says your husband will not look at the plate as though supper has been assembled from apologies. Yet meat also takes a serious share of the grocery money. You look at the prices and begin doing the kind of arithmetic that never appears in cheerful advertisements. A roast could feed everyone tonight and become sandwiches tomorrow, maybe hash after that, if carefully guarded from extra slices. Chops feel neat and respectable, but they do not stretch far. Ground beef is flexible. It can become meatloaf, patties, spaghetti sauce, stuffed peppers, or a casserole with enough breadcrumbs to suggest confidence. Liver is cheaper and nutritious, which is unfortunate because some family members treat it as if it has personally wronged them. You think of the week, you think of payday, you think of the refrigerator. You think of the look your husband might give if dinner appears too light after a long day. This is not simply appetite, it is expectation. Men who work for wages are often imagined to deserve a hearty meal, and women who manage the home are expected to provide it with thrift and grace. That does not mean every household eats alike. Working-class families, farm families, black families, immigrant families, city families, and households with tight budgets may have different patterns, different cuts, different traditions, and different ways of making protein last. Beans, eggs, fish, poultry, cured meats, leftovers, and soups all have their place. But the cultural image of the meat-centered dinner remains strong, and it stands behind the counter with a price tag. The butcher asks what you would like. You ask about a cut you can roast, then perhaps add that you do not need anything too large. This is a delicate phrase. Too large means too expensive, but one prefers not to announce that to the counter, the clerk, and the woman behind you who is buying with alarming certainty. The butcher may suggest something. He may be helpful. He may know which cuts are good this week. He may also assume you need advice, which may be true, but still arrives with a small sting. He lifts a piece, weighs it, trims it, wraps it in paper, and writes the price. The package becomes tidy, but the decision remains heavy. You place it in the cart where it will stay cold as long as possible. You consider ground beef next. Enough for meatloaf, perhaps. Meatloaf is a great negotiator. It accepts crumbs, egg, onion, seasoning, and whatever else the family budget wishes to whisper into it. Sausages might help later in the week. A small amount can flavor a whole dish if placed with authority. You skip something beautiful because beauty costs too much per pound. You choose something plainer because plain food can be made respectable with gravy, patience, and a plate that does not look worried. The cheaper cuts ask for thyme, onions, and a covered pan, but they have dignity if nobody at the table asks too many questions. The meat counter smells faintly of cold air, paper, metal, and salt. It is not unpleasant, it is serious. Around you, other shoppers make their own calculations. Some buy freely, some ask for half a pound, some request bones for soup. Some study the prices and move on, perhaps toward beans, eggs, or canned tuna. The counter does not judge aloud, it does not need to. The butcher paper is folded neatly, as if neat wrapping could make every choice look deliberate. You push the cart away with the wrapped meat tucked beside the other necessities. Dinner is not solved, but it has acquired a main character. The whole week relaxes slightly, then immediately asks what you plan to serve with it. You turn into the canned goods aisle and face a wall of peas, peaches, beans, tomatoes, soup, tuna, and condensed possibilities. Cans are practical, modern, and wonderfully patient. They do not wilt, spoil quickly, or look disappointed when you change the menu. In a 1950s kitchen, canned food can mean convenience, economy, emergency planning, and relief after a long day. A few tins in the cupboard mean you are prepared. Too many may suggest that fresh cooking has quietly asked for a chair. The aisle is calmer than produce and less serious than the meat counter. Everything here has agreed to wait. Tins sit in rows with bright labels, neat stacks, and the steady confidence of food that believes time can be managed. The air smells faintly of paper, metal, waxed floor, and cardboard. Your cart slows. Canned tomatoes might become sauce, soup, stew, or something poured over meat when imagination has gone to lie down. Canned peaches can be dessert, lunchbox fruit, or a cheerful topping for cottage cheese if the day has become that kind of day. Beans can stretch a meal. Tuna can become salad, casserole, sandwiches, or a church supper contribution with enough celery to make it look planned. Condensed soup is a small miracle of thickness. It can be eaten as soup, certainly, but it can also disappear into casseroles, sauces, gravies, and dishes that need help becoming themselves. This is where modern convenience begins to feel kind. A can does not demand peeling. It does not care if the car was gone. It does not punish you because the lettuce failed. It waits until you need dinner to be less fragile. In earlier decades, families preserved food at home, bought from smaller shops, relied on gardens, cellars, dried goods, salted foods, and what could be cooked from scratch. Those habits continue in many homes, but the post-war supermarket gives canned goods a new brightness. They become part of the modern pantry, a way to keep variety close at hand. For women shaped by depression, war, rationing, and uneven pay, a row of tins can feel reassuring. It says there is something for later. It says a bad day will not arrive to empty shelves. It says if company comes, you can at least open peaches. Still, cans are not magic. They cost money. They add weight. They can also invite judgment. Too many tins in the cart may look practical to you and uninspired to someone who believes real cooking must begin with fresh ingredients and personal sacrifice. Too few may leave you stranded on Thursday with a tired onion and a family asking whether there is anything else. You choose carefully. A tin of peas, a tin of tomatoes, perhaps kidney beans or baked beans, depending on local taste and family habit, perhaps evaporated milk, because shelves are kinder than refrigerators when the week becomes unpredictable. Tuna, if the price is kind. Soup, if there is a coupon. You compare sizes, brands, and prices. Larger cans may be cheaper by amount, but only if the family will eat the contents before they become a covered bowl in the refrigerator with no friends. Smaller cans cost more, but they avoid leftovers with a poor future. The choice is not merely food, it is risk. You pick up a tin and read what you need to read. Salt, serving size, price, whether it requires milk, water, or the courage to explain it at dinner. Labels promise quality, freshness, and home-style flavor, which is impressive for something sealed in metal by people you will never meet. Advertisements often present canned goods as helpers to the busy homemaker. They are helpers, but they are helpers that must be carried, paid for, stored, opened, heated, combined, and defended. The can opener at home will have its say. It may turn smoothly, or it may chew the rim with the stubbornness of a household tool that has seen too much. Some cans open smoothly, others cling to the lid as though supper is a private matter. You place a few tins low in the cart because they are heavy and because bread deserves a better life. The pile grows. It feels good. It also feels like the checkout total is quietly taking notes. Nearby, another woman studies soup. Perhaps she is choosing by price, perhaps by brand, perhaps by what her husband will eat without commentary. You understand. Canned food may be convenient, but family acceptance remains the final test. A product can be modern, efficient, and praised in magazines, and still meet its defeat at a table where one child looks into the bowl and asks what happened to it. You select a tin of peaches after all. There is comfort in canned fruit. It brings colour to winter plates, sweetness to lunches, and a sense that dessert can appear without pastry. You add tomatoes because tomatoes can become many things and rarely argue. You add soup because even a strong woman deserves an ally with a pull of cream and salt. Then you move on, the cans resting heavily in the cart, patient as ever. They will wait in the pantry until needed. That is their gift. They will not solve dinner forever, but they can stand quietly on a shelf and pretend they might. At the baking shelf, the cake mix boxes promise a dessert that is quick, tidy, modern, and still somehow loving. The box suggests that science has entered the kitchen wearing an apron and carrying frosting. You are tempted, because birthdays, school events, church suppers, and ordinary Tuesdays do not always leave time for full ceremony. But convenience has to be handled carefully. A mix may need an extra egg, a special topping, or a confident story, because the cake can come from a box, but the devotion must appear homemade. You stand before the flour, sugar, shortening, cocoa, baking powder, extracts and mixes, feeling the quiet pull between tradition and relief. The shelf smells faintly sweet, like vanilla, paper, and every church supper that ever needed one more cake. This shelf knows women are tired. It also knows they are not always allowed to look tired. In the 1950s, cake mix is one of those modern products that seems simple on the surface and socially complicated underneath. It promises speed. It promises success. It promises a cake that rises properly, tastes pleasant, and does not ask you to sift flour while a child explains a school problem involving paste. That alone feels like a serious contribution to household peace. For many women, that promise is genuinely helpful. A boxed mix can rescue a birthday, fill a lunchbox, accompany coffee, or support a church event when the rest of the day has already been claimed by laundry, errands, cooking, cleaning, and the kind of interruption that arrives wearing small shoes. Yet dessert is not only dessert is affection, it is hospitality, it is proof that someone has taken trouble, even if the trouble was mostly opening the right packet and locating a bowl. Some early mixes asked very little from the cook, and many later products leaned into the idea that adding fresh eggs or a finishing touch made the cake feel more personal. Whether or not anyone says this out loud, the act of adding something can matter. An egg, a homemade icing, chopped nuts, fruit, a dusting of sugar, a special pan, a story about how busy the morning was but you still wanted to make something nice. The cake needs an alibi because the culture wants convenience and effort at the same time. This is a difficult pairing, like asking a woman to rest while standing at the stove. You pick up a box and feel its clean corners. The picture on the front looks calm and perfect, if there is a picture. The instructions promise order. Add this, beat that, bake for so many minutes. Cool before frosting, as though children and husbands respect cooling as a principle. A cake from scratch carries older authority. Flour measured into a bowl, sugar, butter or shortening, eggs, milk, vanilla, perhaps cocoa if the budget permits. It smells like work because it is work. A mix carries newer authority. Food companies, test kitchens, and modern packaging have joined you at the counter. They would like to help. They would also like to be trusted with dessert, which is a serious request. You think about who will eat it. Children are rarely troubled by the philosophical origins of cake. They support cake in most forms. Husbands may not notice, or may notice only if something tastes different. Neighbor women may notice more. Some will approve, some will ask what brand it was, some will say they always keep one on hand, which is either kindness or a confession. Others may still believe a proper cake should begin with flour and a sense of duty. The question is not whether the mix works. It often does. The question is how it fits into the performance of care. The grocery store is full of these little bargains. Canned soup can become sauce, frozen vegetables can stand in for fresh, cake mix can stand in for a long afternoon of measuring. Each one saves time, but each one asks you to manage how that saved time appears. A woman may be praised for using modern conveniences, but not if convenience seems to replace devotion too openly. So you imagine the cake at home. Perhaps you will make frosting yourself. Perhaps you will add a little orange zest, if there is an orange. Perhaps you will place cherries on top, because decoration can make speed look thoughtful. Perhaps you will simply bake it, serve it, and refuse to apologize to people who did not wash the mixing bowl. That last option is attractive, but history is not always kind to attractive options. You place the box in the cart, then add flour, because you still need flour. This is how modern life often enters the kitchen, not as a full replacement for older work, but as a companion with conditions. You are not abandoning baking. You are gathering insurance. If the day goes well, perhaps you bake from scratch. If the day becomes crowded, the box waits like a polite little escape plan. The baking shelf smells faintly of paper, sugar, vanilla, and possibility. You move on knowing that dessert, like so many household things, must be easy enough to survive the day and difficult enough to look like love. The cake mix rests in the cart, quiet and square, already hoping no one asks too many questions. You stand before the freezer case and watch your reflection hover over frost, metal trim, frozen vegetables, fish sticks, juice concentrate, and prepared meals that seem almost too pleased with themselves. Frozen food carries the bright promise of the future. It offers speed, neatness, and fewer things to peel, yet the future still needs someone to read directions, heat the oven, set the table, and explain to the family that these peas are progress. Modern convenience has arrived. It would like you to preheat something. The cold seeps through the glass and metal, and the hum of the case blends with the larger hum of the store. Packages sit in stiff rows, wrapped in waxed paper, cardboard, or bright boxes that suggest dinner has been improved by engineers. Frozen vegetables look tidy. Fish sticks look wonderfully certain of themselves. Orange juice concentrate waits in small cans with the promise of sunshine reduced to a task. Prepared dinners, where available, carry the daring idea that a meal might arrive nearly assembled, which is enough to make older cooking habits sit up straight and ask for an explanation. In the 1950s, frozen foods are still part of a growing modern world. They have been developing for years, but post-war home freezers, supermarket freezer cases, and changing household routines make them more visible and more tempting. For a busy woman, the appeal is plain. No shelling peas, no trimming beans, no worrying that the green beans bought with such hope have become limp before Wednesday. The freezer case says that freshness can be stopped, packaged, and resumed later at your convenience. That is a remarkable promise. It is also only partly true because convenience still needs supervision. You cannot simply place a box on the table and wait for applause. Someone must choose it, pay for it, carry it home before it softens, fit it into a freezer compartment that may already be crowded with ice, read the directions, time the oven, and serve the result with a face that suggests this was the plan all along. You pick up a package of frozen peas. It has the clean, square feeling of something that has never met garden dirt and does not intend to start now. It is cold enough to make your fingers stiff. The peas will be ready faster than fresh ones, and they may taste better than tired produce. You consider fish sticks. Children might eat them. Children often respect food shaped into neat little pieces, especially if there is sauce involved. Your husband may accept them, depending on whether fish sticks are treated as a modern meal or as evidence that the household has entered a strange maritime phase. You look at juice concentrate. It saves space, perhaps money, and the trouble of carrying bottles. It also asks you to remember that water must be added, which sounds simple until morning arrives with 3 conversations at once. Frozen food, like canned food and cake mix, changes work rather than removing it. It is less a servant than a punctual assistant who still expects you to know where the baking dish is. It moves labor around. Some work leaves the cutting board and enters the planning. Some leaves the stove and enters the storage. Some leaves the garden and enters the budget. This can be genuinely helpful. It can also create new expectations. If frozen vegetables exist, perhaps vegetables should appear more often. If prepared foods exist, perhaps dinner should be faster. If dinner can be faster, perhaps the house can be cleaner, the children neater, and the woman serving it still pleasant at 6. Progress has a way of saving time and then quietly assigning that time to something else. You think of the freezer at home. If you have a small compartment inside the refrigerator, space is precious. A package must earn its place beside ice trays, frost, and whatever the family has insisted on saving for later. Frost may have gathered along the edges, taking up room with the confidence of an unwanted guest. A larger home freezer is useful, but not every family has one. Some women can buy frozen foods freely. Others must choose carefully, knowing the trip home is long, the bus is warm, or the grocery money has already been spoken for by meat and milk. The freezer case may look like the future, but the future still depends on transport, storage, and wages. You choose what makes sense. Peas, perhaps. They are useful, green, and less emotional than lettuce. Fish sticks if the price is right, and if you feel ready to introduce them as a cheerful novelty rather than an apology. Maybe orange juice concentrate because breakfast could use brightness that does not require squeezing anything. Around you, the case doors open and close. Women lean in, compare boxes, and step back with chilled hands. A child presses fingers against the glass, leaving small prints on tomorrow. The store lights shine on frost and metal. It all feels efficient, clean, and slightly proud. You can admire it. You can also know that none of it cancels the old question. What will they eat, and will they eat it without a conference? You place the frozen package into the cart where it begins its race against time. The cold future has been selected. Now it must survive the warm present. Halfway down the aisle, the children discover the cereal boxes. Bright colours, cartoon mascots, candy, gum, cookies, and small temptations appear at exactly the wrong height, which is to say child height. One child points. Another asks. You say no softly, then clearly, then with the steady voice of a woman aware that 3 shoppers and a clerk are listening. The grocery store sells food, but it also sells desire in small packages. Your job is to bring home breakfast without holding a public hearing beside the cornflakes. The aisle seems louder now, though nothing much has changed. The lights still hum. The cart still pulls slightly to one side. Packages still sit in cheerful rows. But the children have seen colour, sugar, prizes, and animals with persuasive faces. A plain box of oats cannot compete with a smiling tiger, a brave rooster, or a rabbit who appears to have given serious thought to breakfast. Television, radio, comics, and package design are all learning how to speak directly to children. And children, as a group, are excellent listeners when sugar is mentioned. In an earlier shop, a clerk might have stood between a child and temptation. In a self-service supermarket, everything is close enough to touch. This is modern freedom again, arriving at the exact height of a small hand. You keep one hand on the cart and one eye on the shelf. The child asks for a cereal you have never bought. You say maybe another time, which is one of motherhood's most useful phrases because it is not exactly yes and not yet a full war. The child asks when another time is. You say when we need cereal. The child explains that you do need cereal because the box at home is boring and also because this one has a prize. There is a pause while you consider the long history of human civilization and how much of it has led to arguing beside breakfast flakes. Other shoppers pass. Some smile. Some pretend not to hear. One older woman looks sympathetic in the way of someone whose own children are grown and therefore unable to embarrass her near the cookies. You look at the price. The cereal the child wants costs more than the sensible one. It may also contain less food, more air, and a small toy capable of causing sibling conflict before the milk is poured. Yet you understand the appeal. Childhood has its own grocery list, written in colour and longing. A special cereal can make a morning feel bright. It can also make a child feel briefly rich in a world where most household decisions belong to adults. A packet of gum can make a child feel seen. A cookie promised for later may buy 10 peaceful minutes near the meat counter. The trouble is that the store knows this too. Candy waits near checkout. Cookies glow from shelves. Small packages sit where children can ask for them with the persistence of unpaid salesmen. You are not only shopping against prices, you are shopping against design. The packages are cheerful, the characters friendly, the prizes mysterious, and every box seems to know that a tired mother may choose peace if peace is only a few cents more. You say no again, still calm. The child's face changes. The lower lip considers public service. You offer a choice between two cereals you are willing to buy anyway. This is a fine old method. It gives the child a sense of power while keeping both options within civilization. The child chooses the one with the brighter box. You accept this defeat because the price is close enough and because breakfast needs to happen every day, which is a bold schedule for any meal. Another child reaches toward gum. You remove the hand gently. A grocery store with children requires constant soft correction. Please do not touch that. Put that back. Stay near me. No, we are not buying marshmallows. No, the dog does not need candy. No, you cannot ride under the cart. Each sentence must be delivered in public with enough firmness to work and enough sweetness to prove you are not a terrible mother. This is tiring. It is also ordinary. Women have always managed children in markets, shops, streets, and queues, but the mid-century supermarket adds new tools of temptation. Bright packaging, wider choice, television characters, and checkout displays turn the errand into a lesson in desire. You may feel judged whichever way you choose. The public aisle has a talent for turning private parenting into a small civic performance. Say yes too often, and you are indulgent. Say no too sharply, and you are harsh. Let the child cry, and the aisle becomes a theatre. Give in, and the child learns important things about timing. You place the chosen cereal in the cart. The child is satisfied for the moment, which is not the same as peace, but it is related. You move forward past cookies with the steady pace of a woman leaving a difficult country. The cart contains food, bargains, negotiations, and one box bought partly for breakfast and partly for quiet. At home, someone will eat the prize first, complain about the cereal, and ask tomorrow whether there is anything better for breakfast. History rarely records this, but mothers do. Near the cleaning products, you pause and add numbers in your head while pretending to compare soap powder. The grocery money must cover food, soap, paper goods, children's needs, and the small emergencies that arrive between paydays with excellent manners and terrible timing. Prices shift, appetites grow, shoes wear out. You are expected to be thrifty without looking worried, generous without being wasteful, and cheerful while deciding whether pork chops or laundry soap will receive full support this week. The pencil in your handbag has become a household instrument. You stand before tall boxes of detergent, soap flakes, scouring powder, waxed paper, toilet tissue, and bottles that promise brightness, ease, and a home so clean it may begin judging the neighbours. The air smells sharper here, less like fruit and bread, more like cardboard, bleach, perfume, and the stern idea of cleanliness. This aisle is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Food keeps people fed. Cleaning products keep the household respectable. Both cost money. Both run out with poor manners. You pick up one box, then another, checking price, size, and whether a coupon in your handbag might make the choice feel less severe. Laundry soap matters because laundry never pauses to consider the budget. Children fall down. Husbands wear shirts. Towels become damp. Socks travel into unknown lands, and the washing machine waits with its round mouth open. In the 1950s, modern laundry products are sold as labor-saving wonders, and many are useful. Better detergents, washing machines, and package cleaners can make hard work easier. But easier does not mean finished. A cleaner shirt simply becomes the new standard. A brighter towel becomes what everyone expects next time. Progress often enters the home carrying a box of soap and a list of further instructions. You look at the price again. It is only one item, but the week is made of one item after another. Coffee is only one item. Meat is only one item. Cereal is only one item until the children begin treating breakfast as an organized movement. The household budget does not collapse in grand scenes. It leaks through small choices. A few cents more for better soap, a few cents saved on canned beans, a little extra for apples because someone has been coughing, a small treat because childhood should not feel like a ledger. You add the numbers silently. You have done this so often that the sums seem to move behind your eyes. If your husband gives you housekeeping money, he may trust you to manage it, or he may ask later where it went with the innocent curiosity of a man who has never watched prices climb inside a cart. You know where it went. It went into milk, bread, soap, meat, school pencils, cough syrup, and the strange fact that children grow. Some women manage wages of their own as well as household money. Some stretch credit from a local store. Some count coins before leaving home. Some choose between food and other needs with a calm face because the cashier does not need to be invited into the family accounts. The grocery aisle does not care. It offers choices and waits beneath bright lights, as if every household problem can be solved by choosing the right box. You compare a large box and a smaller one. The large box may be cheaper by amount, but only if there is enough money today and enough space to carry it home. The smaller box costs more in the long run, but the long run is not always where dinner lives. This is one of the small traps of limited money. Better bargains often require more cash at once, more storage, and a way to carry the purchase. Thrift is easier when you can afford it in advance. You put the smaller box in the cart, then pause and take it out, then put it back because the larger one would make the bus ride a personal trial. The pencil in your handbag has become almost ceremonial. You take it out and mark the list. Not everything gets a check. Some things receive a question mark. Some things are moved to next week. Some things are crossed off with a regret so small no one else would notice it. Paper goods may wait. A cheaper cut of meat may help. The children's cereal has already claimed its place, which is irritating because cereal has never once shown gratitude. You look at the cart. It contains food, cleaning goods, fresh things, cold things, and several decisions pretending to be objects. Around you, women are doing similar math. One studies waxed paper. Another compares prices on soap. Another removes something from her cart and places it back on the shelf with the gentle sadness of a person choosing electricity. There is no drama. That is what makes it heavy. The whole system depends on women making these small adjustments quietly, week after week, so the household can feel steady. You choose the soap powder. You choose the cheaper paper. You choose to wait on something that can wait, though it will not wait forever. Then you push the cart forward, the numbers still following you softly. The store calls it shopping. You know it is arithmetic with handles, and somehow the handles are always heavier by the soap. Not every grocery day happens beneath bright supermarket lights. You may step instead into a small neighborhood store where the air smells of bread, coffee, fruit, dust, and the wooden floor near the counter. The owner may know your name, your children, your usual order, and whether your account is already stretched thin. A local store can be warm, useful, and close enough to reach on foot. it can also know too much. Credit may feel like kindness in the moment and embarrassment when the bill comes due. The bell over the door gives a small ring as you enter. It is a quieter sound than the wide automatic welcome of the supermarket, more personal and less certain that progress has solved anything. Shelves stand close together. The counter is worn smooth where hands have rested for years. A glass jar of sweets may sit near the register. Bread waits in paper. Coffee may be ground nearby, releasing a rich smell that makes the whole room feel warmer than it is. Fruit rests in small crates. A fly may have opinions near the window. This store does not offer the shining sweep of a modern supermarket, but it offers nearness, familiarity, and sometimes mercy. For many women, especially those without a car, those in city neighborhoods, small towns, rural places, or older suburbs, the local grocer remains important. You can walk here. You can send an older child for bread. You can buy a few items at a time instead of planning a full expedition. You can ask whether fresh eggs came in, whether the potatoes are good, whether the delivery is late, or whether a certain item might be held until tomorrow. The owner may know your family well enough to suggest what you need before you ask. That can feel comforting. It can also feel like having your pantry discussed by a witness. In a small shop, privacy is limited. The grocer sees whether you buy cheaper cuts, whether you skip coffee, whether you take the smallest amount of butter, whether you ask to put it on the account again. He may be kind. He may also remember everything. A charge account can help a family get through the thin days before payday. It lets you bring home bread, milk, flour, or canned goods when cash is low. It can keep children fed and dinner possible. But credit has a way of following you out the door. At the supermarket, money becomes public at checkout for a few minutes. At the corner store, money may become part of an ongoing relationship. The account book sits behind the counter with neat lines and patient ink. Your name may be there. Your purchases may be there too, a quiet record of need. You ask for bread and coffee, perhaps a little cheese, perhaps something for supper because the day has changed and the list made in the morning has lost authority. The owner reaches, weighs, wraps, and writes. In some stores, you still ask for items rather than taking everything yourself. This can be slower, but it can also bring advice. The grocer may know which apples will keep, which tin is worth the price, which delivery was not as good as last week. That knowledge has value. It also means you cannot pretend too easily. A woman in a supermarket can drift past a shelf and choose in silence. Here, asking for £0.5 announces £0.5. Asking for credit announces credit. Still, there are kindnesses in this older world of counters and names. A grocer may let a trusted family pay later. He may add a bruised piece of fruit for a child. He may cut a small amount instead of forcing a larger purchase. He may send goods to the house or keep aside something scarce. These are practical mercies, and households remember them. But mercy can also feel unequal. Not every customer is treated the same. Race, class, language, neighborhood, accent, and reputation shape service. Some women are welcomed warmly, others are watched, some receive credit easily. Others are refused or made to feel small for asking. The local store can be a community center, but community has doors, habits, and prejudices. You feel this as you stand near the counter. A neighbor comes in behind you. She says hello and glances, perhaps without meaning to, at what you are buying. You suddenly wish the order looked more impressive. Bread, milk, a tin of soup, and a small packet of tea may be perfectly sensible, but under another person's eyes, ordinary need can feel like a statement. You make light conversation. Weather. Children. Prices. The price of coffee has become a safe topic because everyone can complain about it without confessing anything too private. The grocer adds the items. You pay what you can or ask quietly for the rest to go on the account. The pencil moves in the book. Nothing loud happens. No bell rings to mark the debt. The groceries are wrapped and handed over with ordinary calm. That is almost worse. You leave with bread under your arm and the small comfort of having what you need for tonight. Behind you, the account remains open, remembering what the household could not quite pay for today. You unload the cart while the cashier begins ringing up the week one item at a time. Cans, bread, meat, coffee, soap, potatoes, cereal, and the one extra thing you did not plan to buy move across the counter like witnesses. The register clicks. The total climbs. You open your purse, smooth the coupons, and arrange your face for the public moment when private money becomes visible. No one says anything unkind. They do not have to. A grocery total can speak perfectly well on its own. The checkout lane is where the whole errand becomes official. Until now, the groceries have been possibilities. A tin could be put back. A box could be exchanged. A treat could be defended as useful. But once the items reach the counter, they begin turning into a number. And the number has no interest in your feelings. The cashier moves with practiced speed. She knows the rhythm of cans, cartons, produce, soap powder, and meat wrapped in paper. She may know prices by memory. She may know faces too. The register sounds sharp and mechanical, a little bell of truth. Each key press seems to make the week more expensive. You watch the total through calm eyes. Inside your head, small sums are making a great deal of noise. The meat was higher than expected. The cereal was not necessary, though the piece it bought may count as a household expense. The soap powder could not wait. The peaches were perhaps optimistic. You place the coupons on the counter and hope they behave. Coupons at checkout should feel like triumph, but they often feel like an exam. Is this the right size? Is this the right brand? Has the date passed? Did you buy 2 when the coupon required 2? Or did you simply believe the coupon was a kinder document than it is? The cashier checks them. You smile lightly, as though none of this matters enough to disturb the morning. Behind you, someone shifts in line. A child leans on the cart. Another shopper begins unloading. Time at checkout has a social weight. You do not want to hold the line. You do not want to seem careless. You do not want to search too long for coins. You do not want the total to surprise you visibly, even if it has done exactly that. The purse opens. Inside are bills folded carefully, coins, perhaps a compact, a handkerchief, keys, and the private structure of the household budget. You count without looking as though you are counting too hard. That is a skill. A woman managing grocery money learns to know the feel of coins and the tone of a cashier waiting. If there is enough, the world continues smoothly. If there is not enough, decisions must be made quickly and in public. Something may have to go back. The extra cereal, the peaches, the better coffee. The item most easily sacrificed is rarely the one you most want to surrender. In many homes, the grocery money is one part of a larger arrangement. Your husband may bring home wages and give you a set amount for food and household supplies. You may have wages of your own. You may use credit, cash, checks, or store accounts depending on place, class, and custom. But in this moment, at this counter, the money is yours to manage and yours to explain if it fails. That is the unfair little trick. You are trusted to stretch it, but not always trusted with full power over it. You watch the cashier subtract the coupons. The total lowers, but not enough to feel like music. Still, it helps. 3 cents here, 5 cents there, a little off the soap. The savings may be small, but small savings belong to the same world as small costs. The cashier places items in bags or sends them toward the bagger, if there is one. Heavy things together, but not too heavy. Bread safe, egg safe, meat wrapped, frozen food, hurried. You may offer a quiet correction because you know the journey home better than anyone. Please put the eggs on top. Please keep the soap away from the lettuce. These requests are practical, but they can sound fussy if delivered the wrong way. You deliver them gently, because women are often expected to manage disaster without sounding particular. Around you, the store continues. Registers ring. Paper rustles. A child asks for gum from the display placed at checkout with suspicious brilliance. The final temptation arrives when your purse is already open and your patience has thinned. You say no again, almost peacefully. The cashier gives the receipt. You fold it or place it into your purse. Receipts are small, but they have authority. They prove what was spent, and later they may be studied at the kitchen table as though they contain secrets. You lift the bags or prepare to push the loaded cart toward the door. The total has been paid. Nothing dramatic has happened. Yet a private battle has been fought under fluorescent light, with coupons, coins, and a smile that stayed in place. The groceries are yours now. The store has finished its part with a cheerful bell. So has the register. Your part is still standing in paper bags, waiting to be carried home. The paper bags are packed, and now the groceries must survive their second life as cargo. Bread needs the top, Eggs require mercy. Meat must stay wrapped. Cans have become building materials. If you have a car, the bags travel to the trunk with some dignity. If you are walking or taking the bus, the journey becomes a study in grip, balance, heat, and prayer directed mostly at the bottom of the bag. The food is bought. Now it must make it home with its reputation intact. The bags stand at the end of the checkout lane, full and upright, looking braver than paper has any right to look. Their sides are warm from hands and slightly soft where cold food has begun making its presence known. The top of one bag shows bread, lettuce, and a corner of cereal. Another holds tins low in the dark, where their weight waits without apology. A third contains the meat, milk, perhaps frozen peas, and other items that understand time differently from crackers. You take stock before moving. This is not delay. This is field planning conducted beside a register with onions at your feet. If you have driven, the path to the car may be short, but the work is still not nothing. You guide the cart across the parking lot or toward the curb, watching for cars, puddles, and children who believe the cart is now a ride. The trunk opens with a metal smell and a warm gust if the day is hot. You place bags carefully, heavy ones first, bread safe, eggs in a place where they will not meet a sack of potatoes in a moment of violence. The car makes the errand easier, but it also allows you to buy more, and more has its own habits. A large shopping trip means more lifting, more unpacking, more remembering where everything goes. If you came by bus or on foot, the bags become more intimate. You feel every choice in your hands. The cans you selected in the name of thrift now behave like bricks. The milk pulls downward. The soap powder has corners. The lettuce must not be crushed, though the lettuce has not earned this much protection. You shift one bag to the crook of your arm and hold another against your hip. If you have children, one may carry something light, which helps until the child forgets the task and begins swinging the bread like a small flag of surrender. You correct this gently. The bread has already endured enough. Weather matters now. Heat presses into the meat and milk. Rain threatens the bags. Wind lifts your skirt and your patience. A paper bag in damp weather becomes philosophical, uncertain whether it wishes to remain a container. You may tuck one bag under your arm, grip the folded top of another, and walk with the careful pace of a woman carrying both food and consequence. Each step is practical. Do not let the bag knock your leg. Do not crush the eggs. Do not set the frozen food down on warm pavement. Do not let the child wander. Do not think too much about the distance still ahead. If you are waiting for the bus, you arrange the bags near your shoes and keep watching them as though they might make decisions. Other people wait too, each with parcels, handbags, newspapers, and faces settled into public patience. When the bus arrives, climbing aboard with groceries is its own small performance. You need hands for the fare, hands for the child, hands for the bags, and the human body has failed to provide enough hands for mid-century errands. Someone may help, someone may sigh, someone may watch without meaning harm, which is still watching. You find a seat if there is one. If not, you stand with bags at your feet and one hand holding the rail, feeling the bus move before you are ready. The groceries shift. The eggs consider their position. The meat grows warmer. The lettuce begins to understand mortality. You think about the kitchen at home. The refrigerator is waiting. The pantry is waiting. The list is almost finished, but not quite. Buying food is only one stage. Carrying it home is another. Putting it away is another. Turning it into meals is another. The grocery errand is often described as shopping, which makes it sound like a stroll among choices. It is really a chain of small labours, each depending on the one before it. The wrong bag packed badly can undo careful buying. A late bus can weaken frozen food. A broken egg can turn one corner of the bag into a private tragedy. You reach your stop or your driveway, and the final stretch appears. Steps, porch, door, keys. Perhaps a child needing help at the exact moment. Both your hands are full. You set one bag down, then worry the pavement is too warm or damp. You find the key. The door opens. The cool shadow of the house receives you. For one quiet second, standing there with aching hands and paper handles cutting into your fingers, you feel the victory of arrival. The food has made it home. The bags have sagged but held. The eggs, if they are wise, have remained eggs. Back home, you sit with a booklet, a damp sponge, and a strip of trading stamps waiting to be pressed into place. The stamps feel like a reward, which is helpful because the grocery bill did not. In many homes, Saving stamps becomes a slow little project of hope. Towels, lamps, toys, kitchen goods, or a small appliance may someday appear because you kept shopping and kept pasting. Each stamp is tiny proof that spending might eventually become thrift if arranged carefully enough in rows. The kitchen is quieter now. The groceries have been carried in, the cold things rushed to safety, and the paper bags folded or saved because a useful bag should not be discarded after one public performance. A few cans still wait on the table. The receipt rests near the salt shaker, offering its small official version of what just happened. You take out the stamps. They may be green or another color, depending on the store and company, but they all share the same strange power. They make spending feel like progress toward a prize. Trading stamps become popular in the mid-century shopping world because they reward loyalty. Buy groceries here, receive stamps, paste them into books, collect enough books, and someday trade them for goods from a redemption center or catalog. The idea is simple, the feeling is not. After spending money on food that will be eaten, soap that will vanish into wash water, and paper goods that will disappear with no ceremony at all, the stamps remain. They are proof that the errand left something behind. You dampen the sponge and touch the first stamp to it. The smell is faintly gluey and paper sweet. You press the stamp into the square and smooth it with your finger. One stamp means very little. A full page means something. A full book means possibility. Several books mean you may begin thinking about a lamp, a blanket, a set of glasses, a toaster, a toy, or some kitchen object that will be described as almost free by people with cheerful misunderstandings of arithmetic. It is not free, of course. You bought it one grocery trip at a time through coffee, meat, flour, detergent, peaches, cereal, and every item the family used without remembering the stamps attached. Still, the stamps offer pleasure, and pleasure matters. They turn routine spending into a visible project. They let you imagine a future object forming slowly from ordinary errands. This can feel almost luxurious. Not expensive luxury, but the small household luxury of choosing something not because dinner needs it tonight, but because you want the kitchen to be nicer, the living room brighter, the children pleased, or the bathroom towels less tired. You turn the page and paste another row. The booklet asks for patience, which is convenient because housewives are expected to keep large supplies of it. Children may help, though help with stamps can become damp, crooked, and adhesive in places no catalogue intended. A child may ask what you will get. You may say you do not know yet. That is part of the charm. The catalogue, if you have one, offers dreams in orderly pictures. Lamps stand straight, mixers shine, blankets look soft. Toys look better behaved than actual children. A woman can look through those pages and imagine improvement arriving through careful saving rather than reckless spending. Trading stamps also add another layer to store choice. A supermarket may offer good prices, but another may offer better stamps. One store may double them on certain days. A neighbor may mention a special. Suddenly, the question is not only where the coffee is cheapest, but where the stamps bring you closer to the toaster. Modern shopping loves to make arithmetic more interesting than necessary. You do the sums anyway. If the prices are close, stamps can persuade. If prices are higher, stamps become less reward than decoration. The experienced shopper learns not to be dazzled too easily. Still, the little stamps are hard not to like. They sit in the booklet with tidy promise. They do not ask to be cooked. They do not spoil. They do not complain about liver. They are perhaps the most cooperative thing you brought home. The work of pasting them also slows the day. After the brightness of the store, the noise of the register, the carrying, the unpacking, the stamps give your hands a quiet task. Press, smooth, line up, turn the page. The kitchen light falls on the booklet. The refrigerator hums. The house smells faintly of paper bags, coffee, and cold air from the door recently opened too often. You may know that the reward system is designed to keep you loyal to the store. You may understand that the prize has been paid for in small hidden ways, but understanding a thing does not always remove its comfort. A towel earned by stamps can still feel like a victory. A lamp can still glow. A toaster can still stand on the counter, looking as though thrift has taken physical form. You paste the last stamp from today's strip and close the booklet. It is not full yet. Of course it is not. Nothing in the household fills as quickly as people suggest. But it is closer. That is enough for now. The stamps have turned groceries into hope, which is a clever trick for paper that arrived after you paid. You carry the bags into the kitchen and begin returning order to the house. Milk goes into the refrigerator, meat is wrapped and chilled. Tins go to the pantry, potatoes and onions find their dark corner. Soap powder moves to the laundry shelf. Cereal is placed high enough to slow down ambition. For a brief moment, the kitchen feels restored. The shelves are fuller, the list is crossed off, and the family's near future has been arranged behind doors. It will last until someone opens something. The kitchen receives the groceries with the tired dignity of a room that knows it will be blamed later if anything is missing. Paper bags stand on the table and floor, their sides softened from the trip. The smell of the store comes in with them. Paper, fruit, cold meat, soap powder, cardboard, and the faint dampness of lettuce trying to remain respectable. You take off your coat if you are wearing one, set down your handbag, and begin quickly because the cold things cannot wait. Milk first, butter next. Meat into the refrigerator, or wrapped again if the butcher paper has loosened. Frozen peas must go near the freezer compartment before they begin surrendering. The refrigerator door opens and closes, letting out little clouds of cold air that feel expensive somehow. This is the part of grocery shopping that almost nobody counts. Buying food is visible. Carrying bags is visible if anyone happens to be watching. Putting everything away happens inside the house, quietly, between the store and the meal, and it is where the errand becomes household order. You know where each thing belongs because you are the one who will need to find it later. Tins of tomatoes, peas, soup, peaches, and tuna go onto the pantry shelf, but not randomly. Older tins should be brought forward. Newer tins should go behind them. This is the sort of small rule that keeps food from becoming a dusty historical exhibit. Flour and sugar return to their canisters if they have been bought. Coffee receives special attention because morning depends on it. Potatoes go low and dark, away from light. Onions stay where they can breathe, though they will still make the cupboard smell as if it has opinions. Bread is kept safe from children and from the weight of everything else. Eggs are checked, perhaps gently opened like a report card. If all have survived, the day has improved. You fold the paper bags, smoothing the creases with your hands. Bags can be reused for rubbish, lunches, storage, or another errand. Throwing them away too quickly feels careless. The strings, wax paper, jars, rubber bands, and usable scraps of household life all seem to have second duties waiting. In the 1950s home, especially in families shaped by depression, war, rationing, or narrow pay, nothing useful leaves without a reason. Even in more comfortable homes, thrift remains a virtue people admire loudly when women perform it quietly. The groceries disappear into cupboards, shelves, drawers, and cold spaces. The table clears. The floor may need sweeping because potatoes bring soil and children bring crumbs simply by existing nearby. You wipe a small wet mark where the milk bottle stood. You move the soap powder to the laundry shelf and feel the faint powdery smell rise. Cleaning supplies have their own corner, because food and soap should not become close friends. You place the cereal high enough to slow down the morning raids. It will not stop them. It may make them more athletic. The list, now crossed off and folded, sits near the receipt. It looks finished. It is not finished. The items on it have only changed form. They are now meals waiting to happen, stains waiting to be removed, lunches waiting to be packed, and arguments waiting to be avoided. Still, there is a real comfort in this moment. The pantry is fuller. The refrigerator hums with new purpose. The kitchen feels capable again. For a little while, the house seems to have been repaired by groceries. You may stand with your hands on the counter and let yourself enjoy it. This is not laziness. This is the small pause after a job done well, even if nobody has applauded the safe arrival of the eggs. Soon someone will open the bread. Someone will ask where the cereal is. Someone will drink the milk as though it was placed there by weather. By evening, the order will begin softening around the edges. But now, in this quiet middle of the day, the shelves are full, the bags are folded, and the week looks briefly possible. That briefness matters. Household order is rarely permanent, but it can still be real. A cupboard arranged at noon may be disturbed by supper, yet for a few hours it holds a kind of peace. The work has made a border between enough and not enough, between the morning's worry and the evening's plate, however briefly today. You know the family will not see the full labor, only the result. They will open doors and find what they need. That is partly the point. You close the pantry door. Behind it, Everything stands in rows, behaving beautifully because no one has needed anything yet. At the counter, you begin thinking past tonight's dinner because one meal is never only one meal. A roast may become sandwiches, hash, soup or casserole. Stale bread may become crumbs or pudding. Bacon fat, gravy, bones, vegetable ends, and fruit too soft for pride can all be given another use. In many 1950s homes, thrift is not a charming hobby. It is a daily skill shaped by pay envelopes, memory, habit, and the long shadow of harder years. You are not wasting food, you are asking yesterday to help. The groceries have been put away, but your mind is already rearranging them into future meals. This is where the kitchen becomes a quiet planning room again. The roast is not just a roast. It is tonight's dinner, tomorrow's sandwiches, perhaps a little hash with potatoes, perhaps soup if the bone is good, perhaps a casserole if the week begins to narrow. The bread is not just bread. Fresh slices are for breakfast and lunches. Stale slices become crumbs, stuffing, toast or bread pudding if there is milk, sugar, and the will to make something soft out of what has hardened. Nothing stands alone for long. Every food enters the house with a possible second life. You learn this from mothers, aunts, older neighbors, home economists, recipe pamphlets, wartime habits, and the plain fact that money has edges. The 1950s are often remembered through images of plenty. Full shelves, bright refrigerators, cheerful advertisements, family tables, and supermarkets glowing with choice. Plenty exists for many families in ways that would have seemed remarkable earlier, but abundance does not erase memory. Women who remember depression kitchens or wartime ration books do not suddenly become careless because a supermarket has stacked peaches neatly. They know how quickly security can thin. They know the value of gravy. They know that a tired vegetable can still serve if given enough broth and privacy. You scrape bacon fat into a jar. It may season beans, fry potatoes, or help a pan of greens. You save drippings because flavor costs money too. A bone can deepen soup. A spoonful of gravy can make dry meat seem less lonely. A heel of cheese can be grated. A spoonful of cooked vegetables can vanish into hash where nobody will ask difficult questions. This is not always glamorous cooking. It is not meant to be. It is practical, watchful, and sometimes quietly brilliant. The skill lies in making a family feel they are eating meals, not leftovers wearing different hats. The word leftover can sound tired. Hash sounds like a plan. Casserole sounds respectable. Soup sounds comforting. Sandwiches sound efficient. A good name can do useful work at the table. Cookbooks and women's magazines often offer ideas for stretching food, using remains, planning menus, and turning small portions into attractive dishes. Some advice is helpful. Some appears written by people with generous pantries and unusually obedient children. Still, the theme is clear. A capable housewife should know how to make food travel through the week. She should avoid waste, preserve variety, keep costs down, and serve meals that look intentional. This is a lot to ask of half a cup of peas. You look at the covered bowl in the refrigerator and think about where it belongs next. The family may reject the same food twice if it appears without disguise. Children recognize leftovers with unfair speed. Husbands may not complain, but their faces can become thoughtful in a way that says too much. So you transform. You chop, mix, season, cover with sauce, tuck beneath pastry, blend with potatoes, or place in a baking dish where many family problems have gone to seek forgiveness. The casserole dish becomes one of the great mid-century tools of peace. It can stretch meat, accept canned soup, welcome noodles, shelter vegetables, and emerge from the oven bubbling as though everything was meant to happen. There are limits, of course. Not every leftover deserves another chance. Some foods pass quietly from thrift into danger, and the wise cook knows when economy has ended and science has begun. You smell, look, and decide. The refrigerator helps, but it is not a miracle worker. Food safety matters, even if nobody at the table wants to discuss it over creamed leftovers. You keep notes in your head, use the meat tomorrow. Make soup before Thursday, save the bread ends. Buy onions next trip, the kitchen clock ticks, the refrigerator hums. Outside, the day continues as if this little planning session is nothing. But it is the reason the budget stretches, the table fills, and the family moves through the week without noticing how often yesterday has returned to help them. There is tenderness in it too. Saving food is not only fear of waste, it can be care, memory, and respect for work already done. A scrap saved today may become comfort tomorrow, which is a quieter kind of abundance than any advertisement knows how to draw. Even the smallest bowl can feel useful when the week is long and the pay envelope has already begun to look tired. You cover the bowl again and slide it back into the cold. It will come out later with a new name and, if all goes well, no witnesses. By evening, the groceries have become dinner, and dinner has become something everyone accepts as naturally as weather. Meat is served, vegetables are placed beside it, bread is set out, glasses are filled, and children are reminded that elbows have not recently become tableware. Your husband may notice the coffee, the meat, or the price of something if you mention it. He may not ask how long it took to plan, travel, choose, carry, store, stretch, and cook all of this. That is the trick of household work. When it succeeds, it disappears. The kitchen is warm now. Steam clouds the window a little. A pan rests on the stove. Plates wait on the table. The smell of meat, onions, potatoes, coffee, or baked something moves through the house with the calm authority of supper. This is the moment the grocery errand has been aiming toward all day, though no one may think of it that way. The list on the envelope, the pantry check, the cold refrigerator, the coupons, the bus, the cart, the butcher, the checkout, the bags cutting into your fingers, the unpacking, the careful saving of leftovers, all of it has changed shape. It is no longer an errand, it is dinner. You call everyone to the table, or perhaps they arrive because the smell has done the calling. Chairs scrape. A child needs a different fork for reasons known only to the child. Another child asks, "What is in the casserole?" with the suspicion of a customs officer. Your husband sits down, tired from his own day, bringing the outside world with him in the form of work talk, traffic, weather, and the faint smell of tobacco, wool, or engine air. You serve. The portions are not random. You know who eats more, who eats less, who will complain if the vegetables touch the meat, who needs the better piece because tomorrow's lunch depends on what remains. You give yourself a portion too, often after calculating everyone else's. This is one of the quiet habits of the table. The person who planned the meal may be the last to receive it. In many 1950s homes, dinner carries emotional weight. It is not just food. It is proof of order at the end of the day. A hot meal suggests care, skill, and stability. It says the household is functioning. It says the man who comes home from paid work has returned to a place prepared for him. It says the children are being fed properly. It says money has been stretched into something visible. That is a great deal for meatloaf to carry, even with help from potatoes. The family begins eating. Someone reaches for salt before tasting, which you notice and choose not to make into an incident. Someone asks whether there is more bread. Someone says the carrots are too soft, though the carrots have done their best. Your husband may say the meat is good. This is pleasant. You may tell him it was on sale. He may nod with approval, because thrift is admirable when it has already arrived on a plate. He may not know about the choice you made beside the soap powder, the coupon that failed, the bag that nearly tore, or the way you protected the eggs on the bus as if they were fragile family documents. He sees dinner. That is not because he is cruel. It is because much of the work has been designed to be invisible. A well-run home hides its own machinery. Clean clothes appear in drawers. Food appears at meals. Soap exists until it does not. Children are sent to school with lunches. Coffee returns in the morning. When everything works, it looks natural. When something fails, the person who managed it becomes suddenly visible. The table conversation moves around you. A school story. A work problem. A neighbor's news. A child spills milk, and the day briefly becomes very wet. You rise for a cloth before anyone else has fully understood the geography of the spill. The milk spreads toward the male. Plates lift. Napkins move. You absorb the flood, return the glass upright, and sit down again before the food cools too much. This too is part of dinner. Meals are not still pictures from advertisements. They are moving events with elbows, moods, interruptions, and gravy. Yet there is warmth here. Someone laughs. Someone asks for seconds. The bread is passed. A child eats 3 carrots after claiming hatred of carrots as a general principle. Your husband thanks you, perhaps briefly, perhaps sincerely. You accept it. The thanks matters, even if it cannot name the whole day. After dinner, plates are cleared, Leftovers are judged, meat is saved, bread is wrapped, a small portion is placed in the refrigerator for tomorrow, where it will wait for its next identity. The table is wiped, the kitchen slowly returns to itself. What remains of the grocery trip is hidden again in cupboards, cold shelves, and full stomachs. The work has become ordinary life, which is its success and its disappearance. You stand at the sink with warm water running over your hands. Behind you, the family leaves the table as if dinner happened naturally. In a sense, it did. It happened because you made nature a shopping list. The house is quiet now, or as quiet as a house can be when the pipes knock, the refrigerator hums, and tomorrow is already forming near the sink. You sit again with a pencil and notice what is low, what is gone, what the children refused, what your husband praised, and what must be bought next time. Grocery shopping is finished only in the way laundry is finished, which is briefly and with poor long-term prospects. You write milk at the top of a new list. The refrigerator hums as if it knew this would happen. The kitchen has changed its mood. The bright pressure of the store is gone. The dinner dishes are washed or waiting, depending on the hour and the strength left in your shoulders. A towel hangs near the sink. The table has been cleared, though a crumb remains under one chair with the confidence of a tenant. The paper bags have been folded. The receipt may still be near the salt shaker. A few trading stamps might be tucked into their booklet. Not enough for a lamp, not yet, but enough to make the future feel as if it has started collecting itself. You sit in the soft kitchen light and listen. The house after dinner has its own sounds. A child turns in bed. A radio murmurs faintly from another room, or perhaps the house has gone fully quiet. The refrigerator motor starts, steady and low, guarding the milk, the leftovers, the meat, the lettuce that has already begun negotiating with time. This is the hour when the day should be finished. Instead, the next day is entered politely through the back door. You look toward the pantry and think of what went in, what came out, and what is already spoken for. The coffee is lower. The bread will not last. The cereal has been opened. The good apples may be gone first, leaving the soft one for someone with less bargaining power, probably you. The meat bought today has become dinner, tomorrow's lunch, perhaps one more meal if no one develops sudden generosity with portions. You make a small note. Not a full list yet, you tell yourself. Just a reminder. This is how lists begin. A reminder becomes two reminders. Two become milk, bread, onions, coffee, soap, and something for lunches. The household does not announce its needs all at once. It leaks them slowly, through empty jars, damp towels, lunch boxes, children's appetites, and husbands who mention at bedtime that they use the last of something important in the morning. You sharpen the pencil if it needs sharpening. The small scratch of lead on paper sounds almost peaceful. The work of grocery shopping has circled back to where it began, but you are not the same as you were this morning. Your hands have carried bags. Your mind has carried prices. Your patience has carried children past cereal. Your face has carried calm through checkout. Now the house sleeps inside the results. This is not failure. This is the shape of domestic work. It renews itself. It has no proper ending, only pauses that look suspiciously like endings from a distance. Many women know this rhythm. Whether they shop in a supermarket, corner store, market stall, company town store, or wherever money and access allow, the question returns: what is left? What is needed? What can wait? What cannot? The 1950s may dress this work in bright packaging, cheerful ads, shining appliances, and promises of ease, but the deeper rhythm is old. People eat, and someone must think ahead. The modern supermarket has not removed that thinking. It has given it wider aisles. You look at the list and remember the day's small absurdities. The bad wheel on the cart, the butcher paper, the coupon that required a size you did not buy, the child who believed cereal was a matter of justice, the paper bag that held just long enough. These things are funny now because they are over, which is one of history's better arrangements. You may feel tired, but there is also a quiet satisfaction in having done the work. The family was fed. The shelves are not empty. Tomorrow has a beginning. That is something. In a house that depends on repeated work, beginnings matter almost as much as endings, and sometimes more, especially when breakfast is already waiting with quiet confidence again. You close the pantry door softly if it is open. You fold the new list and leave it where morning will find it. perhaps on the table, perhaps tucked near your handbag, perhaps beside the coupons, because hope and marketing have agreed to meet again. The refrigerator hums the steady little engine of the kitchen night. Behind its door, leftovers wait under wax paper, already preparing to become lunch with a better name. The house settles. The pipes knock once and stop. There is no applause, no receipt for the thinking, no official record of the small decisions that kept everyone fed. Only the quiet kitchen remains, holding the evidence in shelves, jars, and cold-covered bowls. The grocery day has ended, but only in the gentle, temporary way household days end. Somewhere in the quiet, milk has already placed itself on tomorrow's list. And now, you can let the kitchen grow quiet. You've spent this long, soft grocery day among envelope lists, pantry shelves, cold refrigerator light, clipped coupons, empty driveways, bus stops, bright aisles, stubborn carts, serious fruit, butcher paper, canned peaches, cake mixes, frozen peas, cereal negotiations, soap powder arithmetic, corner store credit, rising checkout totals, paper bags, trading stamps, leftovers, and the little pencil marks that kept a household moving. You have seen how grocery shopping in the 1950s could look simple from the outside while carrying so much hidden work inside it. It was planning, counting, carrying, choosing, saving, stretching, and somehow making dinner appear as though it had wandered politely onto the table by itself. There is something tender in that work, and something worth honoring. The women who carried it were not living inside a perfect advertisement. They were tired sometimes. They were careful. They were clever in ways that did not always get named. They protected eggs on buses, made soup from bones, turned scraps into another meal, and kept small hopes pasted into stamp books one damp square at a time. And maybe from here in the present you can feel grateful for the comforts that make some of this easier now. Fuller choices, safer storage, better transport, stronger bags, and the simple mercy of not having lettuce become a public responsibility quite so often. Not smugly, just gently, just with respect for the hands that did the work before us. So let the supermarket lights fade, let the register stop ringing, let the butcher paper fold itself away, let the cartwheel finally roll straight. You are back in your own quiet room now, with no list to finish tonight. The house is settling, the refrigerator is humming somewhere in the dark. Tomorrow can wait at the top of its own little piece of paper. For now, breathe slowly, pull the blanket closer, let the day loosen and drift gently into sleep. Good night.